Welcome to New York Got Game. Boom shakalaka.
What's good, people? Your boy Dexter, Bryan, Fonseca here. Another edition of New York Got Game, Knicks Weekly Live. Hopefully everybody is doing well, having themselves a good week. I hope everybody is staying warm because it is brick out there. Now,
winter is back.
Today was warmer than the last 2 days. Winter is back. You're right, Bryan. Today was warmer than the last couple of days, but not by much, but it was warmer. So I'll say that it was warmer. And we got some things to talk about with the Knicks. We'll talk about what the Knicks did this week. Earlier this week, they won back-to-back games. I was at their win against Atlanta on Monday, MLK Day. Nice win. Shout out to Nostalgic Nick. He's hyped for Knicks Weekly. We appreciate you checking in every week. A nice win for the Knicks. They also then beat the Nets in Brooklyn in what was basically another home game. Just in a different borough, and they are now 6-6 in the month of January. So good wins for the Knicks. We're going to get into that. All-star starters will be announced in a couple of minutes. We would expect Brunson Towns to be named a starter. We will get into that once we know. Also joining us from Knicks Fan TV, my guy, Alex Trataros. He will join me and Bryan here to talk some Knicks hoop. So it should be good. Glad to have Alex on here. He'll be joining us about 7:45 Eastern here. Thank you, everybody, for rocking in, whether you're watching on Twitter, whether you're watching on Facebook, whether you are watching on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share. If you're missing this or you're not going to be able to see all of this, you can watch it back on YouTube. Also, check it out on all audio digital streaming platforms. Bryan, actually, we got news here, and I just saw it come in. Jalen Brunson has been voted an East starter per the TNT broadcast. Vote tally was 50% fan vote, 25% media vote, and 25% player vote. So the fans getting it right and getting Brunson in there as a starter. It looks like the Knicks could have two starters here. So that'll be interesting. Jalen Brunson is just breaking. This kind of tweaks what we're going to talk about at the top. But Jalen Brunson named an all-star starter here. According to TNT, who announced it, this is his second time making all-star back-to-back years. He has made the all-star team. So congratulations to Jalen Brunson here. You sounded a little surprised there, Bryan. Was it because of the way the voting was going with LaMelo Ball? Should not be an all-star starter. And also, who's ahead as well, too?
Donovan Mitchell, I think.
Donovan Mitchell was ahead. Who deserves to be an all-star starter? I will say there. So I will say that. What's your reaction to this? We were expecting to talk about Cat. I thought Brunson might be a reserve, but we were expecting to talk about Cat, and it was something I was also going to bring up to Alex when he joins us later on. But here we go. Brunson, back-to-back all-star for the Knicks. Well-deserved, in my opinion.
First as a starter also.
Yep.
We both think this should be his third all-star appearance, actually, because there was a year where it may have been the 21-22 season. I'm trying to remember. It was Jalen Brunson's first year, basically. With
Cat, just sorry to cut you off. Cat also named an all-star starter. So both.
That one was a layup.
That was it. That we expected.
Yeah.
Both
that
Knicks played. So Knicks get two players in the starting lineup.
When's the last time that happened?
Not in my lifetime. I'm pretty sure it has not happened in my lifetime. I'm pretty sure of that, because the time the Knicks once had three, it was Ewing, Oakley, and Starks.
Oakley and Starks were absolutely not starting.
It wasn't Oakley. It was just Ewing and Starks. I can't remember. I might be wrong with this.
It might have not have been Oakley, but Starks was most definitely.
Starks definitely made an all-star team. I remember
Allen Houston made two. Latrell Sprewell's gotten in.
Yeah,
but I don't think they've had multiple.
They weren't years when they were together either, that if I remember correctly. But in my lifetime, both two Knicks starting, I don't think so. Maybe you were going back to the 70s. Maybe we're going to Walt Frazier and Earl Monroe, and I'm not even. I don't know. Spree and Houston.
Earl Monroe had better numbers,
but Spree and Houston both did not start. I'm confident about it. Last time the Knicks had three was 1972-73. That's the last time they had three. But when's the last time the Knicks had two starting? Our great producer, Jeff Stansbury. He will be on it. We will figure this out, guys, to get you. Let us know in the chat what's your reaction. Karl-Anthony Towns named the All-Star starter. Jalen Brunson named the All-Star starter. Bryan, I'm sorry I cut you off because we have breaking news. But what's your reaction to both these guys being named All-Star starters?
Now that Jeff gave this to us, I feel like as we're talking about this, I want to throw this to the comments, see if the commenters can guess some trivia here. Who were the 3 All-Stars the last time the Knicks had 3 All-Stars? This was in 1973.
Yeah.
Let's see who can name all 3 of them. One of them is obvious. 2 of them.
One is obvious.
I think people might be surprised.
One I should have known by how good the team was. The other's a little bit more shocking. But it's for a great Knicks team. Obviously, the championship.
I mean, that was the last championship team. But Jalen Brunson being an All-Star. Yeah, it was just a matter of and do you have the full Eastern Conference?
I just saw it get tweeted out by Shams. The full Eastern Conference starters: Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell in the backcourt, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jason Tatum, Karl-Anthony Towns in the front court.
Yeah, I have no complaints.
I think justice was served. I think this was right. I think these are the best 5 players in the East.
Yeah,
that have been by position that were deserved
healthy too.
Healthy.
Yeah.
That deserved it. I definitely think so.
I get the LaMelo Ball push, but I don't think he should be an All-Star. No, I mean I get it from just because
he's popular.
Him. Yeah, it's one of those things. And he super talented dude, puts up great numbers. I don't think it's just it feels kind of looter and variety, but I actually think the Charlotte team could be legitimately interesting next season. It's just this year. Brandon Miller's out. They've got a lot of injuries. Mark Williams was hurt. They were playing pretty well before LaMelo Ball got hurt, but he did get hurt. And Jalen Brunson has just been more meaningful again. He's played absolutely just out of his mind since he got to New York, basically, and is playing meaningful basketball and is coming through meaningful minutes. Before we got on here, we were talking about how the Knicks were kind of playing with their food in that game against the Nets. And you kind of look up and it's man, this hasn't been an awesome month for them. And are they really going to blow this game at Barclays Center, which, as you would say, their second home? And by the way, I don't know if there's been a time where that hasn't been the case, because even when the Nets came over, that just so happened to be the team that the Knicks had that won 54 games.
It's never been. I will say this: it's never been I didn't go to this game because I was going to go to the game and I didn't go to this game. But last year I went to a game and I took my daughter. And it might as well have been Madison Square Garden. I've been to a lot of Knicks-Nets games at Barclays Center, and it will be 60-40, 70-30 Knicks fans. The one I went to last year, it was 90-10. Oh, yeah. And you know how I'm not exaggerating? Sitting in the row in front of me was a whole row of friends, all dudes who were together. About 8 dudes. They're sitting in front of me. 8 of them were Knicks fans, and one of their friends was a Net fan, and they were getting on him. And at the end, I was kind of laughing, and the guy turned around and recognized me from the show. But it was
from the trivia question I threw out there. Still Knicks fan says Clyde, Earl, and Reed. You got Clyde.
Good guess, Ron.
Earl and Reed, you would think, but no. Asim Hamid says Dave DeBusschere. Dave DeBusschere is right. Let's see if we can get the third one.
If somebody can get the third one, it is Clyde. It is Dave DeBusschere. That was a good guess, though, Ron. Shout out to Ron.
No, I would have guessed. I definitely would have guessed Earl. I 1,000% would have.
I would have too.
I don't know if I would have guessed Reed by that point.
Yes, everybody's missing one. I'm intrigued to see if somebody.
It's too good you can't give the hint though.
No, I'm not giving a hint. No hints. No hints for the people. We love you, people, but no hints for the people. No hints for the people.
So what do you like? Do you care about All-Star starter, or do you just care hey, they got into the All-Star game, that's cool? What do you make of this?
You know me, and we've talked about this before. I know you probably and I have talked about this in our basketball conversations. All-Stars cool. It's not what matters to me. What tells the story of the NBA and who the best players are in the league each year is all NBA. That matters to me. How do you?
They can both get actually.
What'd you say?
They can both get that.
I think both these guys are on track. I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson could be. I would say, Cat based on position probably is going to be second team. Brunson could be second team. He's been a little shaky. He's probably likely a little more third team. I would say this year. But both can make all NBA. If you at the end of the season, you're 2 of the top 15 players in your league, and obviously a lot of that depends on health. Knocking on wood for y'all Knicks fans out there. But I think that they absolutely could. I think they could make all NBA. I think they could make All NBA.
Yeah, Brunson's gonna have a tougher time, I think, even like because with Cat, he'll get in. His numbers are too absurd. I think Brunson will get in. I think it'll probably be third team though, because once you start factoring in like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, unfortunately, Luka Doncic is not going to be able to qualify.
No.
But you still have like Anthony Edwards, for example, right?
Who has a good one. Ron says the lefty, I bet. Can't remember his name. He is bald. Ron, you're warming up. That's all I'm going to say.
You don't want to give it to him.
That's all I'm saying. Nah, Ron, hey Ron, I love you, man. It's Brooklyn all day.
There we go.
There you go. I seen Hamad gets it. Shout out.
He stole it.
I seen got the last one. Bill Bradley. I seen Hamad comes through. Ron, I'm sorry. I can't, you know what I mean? I have to make sure you come complete. It's no participation grades here. Ron is my guy, fellow Brooklyn guy. Ron is a very astute Knicks fan, and we love his show. Still Knicks fans. They do a great job. Shout out to them. Shout out to everybody watching again, rocking with us. Again, Jalen Brunson, Karl-Anthony Towns, named All-Star starters. We're going to get back to that topic in Real or Not. We're going to talk about that later and get back to that. Our guy, Alex Trataros, will be joining the show very shortly to talk to us about what's going on with the Knickerbockers. But look, that game, Bryan, against the Nets, the Knicks did not look great in that. I have to say, when I was at the Garden of MLK Day, I was impressed with how the Knicks bounced back in that game because they did not play good defense in the first half. They played much better in the second half. They forced 24 turnovers in that game that I forgot how many points that actually led to, but led to a bunch. I think it was 29 or 30 points it led to in that game. The defense was better in the second half. Mikal Bridges stepped it up in the second half, who I thought had to have a big day against Trae Young. It was a good win. It was a good win for Atlanta, who is confident against the Knicks. I know they're confident because my homie Tabitha Turner, who was the Hawks sideline reporter, she was out here guaranteeing a win, and they didn't win. And I saw her after the game and just said, things happen.
Sneakily important win, though. I mean, look, you have to. There's some humps you just have to get over. If a team feels like they have your number, like you have to beat them at some point on your home floor. It's fundamental, just NBA basketball. I thought in that win too, like OG Anunoby. I mean, we haven't talked about him as much in the last couple of weeks, but we were talking about like we were getting asked by people watching the show, like, hey, could he be a third All-Star, whatever? Which I still guess we have to find out, like if the Knicks are going to potentially get a third here.
I don't see it.
Maybe that's a Real or Not, Jeff. If you want to toss that in there, I don't know if that's going to be the case, but OG Anunoby from a defensive standpoint, I thought was pretty impressive too. Offense, he didn't give you a ton, but he was efficient, but he only shot 4 times. But he didn't hurt you in that game. But Jalen Brunson, again, like this is when there are, I can't believe like we're here, but when there are big spots in games, like how many dudes do you actually trust more than Jalen Brunson?
Yeah, I don't know.
It was like he was playing meh against the Nets. But when it came down to the fourth quarter, it's like, all right, who's going to create shots for the Nets? And the hallmark, we talked about this, the hallmark of a good team is you win games even when you're not playing well.
Agreed.
Now, you have to do it against better teams than the Nets.
Right.
But if you can play subpar basketball and still get a win against the Orlando Magic. But it's tough to do that in today's NBA because the league is so deep, the league is very talented, that if you slack off a little bit, like, a team who is maybe like a 10 seed can get you because the 10 seed might still have 2 stars.
Yeah, it's possible. You want to, before we bring Alex in, who's joining us, do you want to hear the Western Conference All-Stars?
Please. Yes.
All right, we got SGA, Curry, LeBron, KD, and Jokic.
LeBron, okay. He's going to get the popular vote, so to speak. Wait, Curry got in over Anthony Edwards?
He did.
Popularity contest. And the front court was LeBron, AD, and Jokic, who I think was leading the votes at one point. I mean, I guess the LeBron shouldn't be starting, but he was going to be an All-Star. We know.
Yeah, he's going to be All-Star. Listen, man, it's for that reason. I don't go crazy over the All-Star game.
Şengün better get in.
I don't go crazy over the All-Star game. Like,
And we'll get in. Şengün will get in. I do wonder, like, how many.
Wemby? Did you say Wemby?
Wemby's going to get in.
Yeah, he's getting in.
Yeah, he's absolutely good. I'm actually a little surprised he's not starting because
next
of his
year.
popularity.
I say next year.
Yeah,
next year he start. Next year, I think it's a lock.
Yeah, he might do it for whenever he's healthy, he's going to start.
Yeah. Amin Hamad made a good point. He said Towns should sit out the All-Star game since he has a hand injury. That will be interesting to see what happens with that. I mean, we got a couple weeks ago, but that'll be interesting. I think he's going to want to play, but I think that'll be interesting. Anyway, we don't want to keep our guests waiting.
That's a great question. Transaction talk. You know? We got 2 weeks to the deadline.
The answer on that is no.
Probably not.
Yeah, I will get to. I mean, we see a question. We will get to that question. It's a good one. I don't think it's going to happen. I want to bring in my guest, good friend of helping us and contributing to the New York Post as a guest. He is of Knicks Fan TV, co-host on there. Alex Trataros joins us now. Alex, what's going on, man?
Dexter, what's going on, my man? How you guys doing today?
We're doing good, man. How you doing? I feel like this might be a good week for you because you got 2 wins from the Knicks. Your Jets just hired a new coach. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like you might be feeling better. You might be feeling better.
And hi, Bryan. Nice to meet you for the first time too. Before I answer Dexter's question, feeling good, man. 2 wins, 2-game winning streak. Bouncing back strong. Jets with the new head coaching hire. Look, for me, man, I'm at the point where I just got to see it produce. I can't get myself too high. I can't keep myself too low at these points. I take it by a game basis with the New York Jets. There's actually like my friends. We have like a group chat talking about the Jets, right? There's like 4 of us. And one of my friends like, come on, guys, who's excited for this season before anything unfolded? And I was like, one of my 2 friends, me and my other friend, his name's Ben, we're like, man, gotta wait for things to roll. Like, we got Aaron Rodgers back, baby. We're going to be doing stuff. And I'm like, slow your roll. It's okay. He's like, I wish I could pin this. To remember your reaction. I was like, I wish I could pin this so that way I can remember that reaction. And sure enough, we all saw what happened this season to the Jets. And
I'm hoping Bryan and I are both recovering former Jets fans.
Yeah.
So
happy for Aaron Glenn, though.
We're happy for Aaron Glenn, though. Who's one of my favorite Jets fans.
I just hope my fear. We're not a Jets show, obviously. We'll save that for Ryan. But yeah. I think my fear is just like I don't want them to run a former Jet great out of town if he sucks. Hopefully he doesn't suck. But I listen, and I'm glad he got his opportunity because he earned it. But man, he's just
very deserving of it. But it's just like it's just hard not to say to watch. Of what the Jets are, and then I just hope for the best, man. I just hope for the best for Glenn. It's just like that's it. That's all I ask.
Not at all. We understand. We completely understand. Alex, I'm going to get into some Knicks talk. That's what we're here for. One of the things I found interesting this week that Bryan and I were just talking about when you looked at the couple of games they won this week, Tibbs expanded the rotation to 9 players. Saw that. A lot of us noticed that who were at the game. The fans obviously at home watching noticed it in the game against Atlanta. Shamit's back in the rotation, gets some minutes. It feels to me like the minutes police, they got to win. The minutes police got to win here. What do you think about Tibbs expanding rotation? Do you think he's going to stick with this? Does he need to stick with this? Do you want to see it possibly expand more? What are your thoughts?
As someone who has in the onset combated the minutes police, because I'm like, look, guys, let's look at the bench and see what we got here. Having the 9-man rotation certainly helps. You want to make sure that your starters are getting the most rest as possible throughout the game, throughout the season. That's very important. And so for Tibbs to do that, it's great to see. This is not uncommon for him to go to a 9-man rotation. We've even seen him go to a 10-man rotation when he first got here, right? It all depends on like the talent that's on the team. The thing is, though, I think like how many minutes are these guys going to play? Like if you look at Shamit getting 9 minutes, gives you a lot of good effort on defense, hasn't really shot the 3 ball well yet. And so I think the minutes that it's obviously not only the number of people in the rotation, but the quality of minutes that they're giving to and how long they're out there on the court for. So going back to like Shamit getting 9 minutes, if he's not giving you anything offensively, is it really helping anybody just for 10 minutes? Maybe slightly, but we still see guys ending up in like 38, 39, 40 minutes. And so it's like, it's cool that Tibbs is extended to 9. I just want to see these guys make a dent while they're out there. That way they can give these starters the rest that they need.
I think that's a good point, because when you look at the Knicks bench, and I was just trying to pull up the stat here, they're 30th in bench minutes per game, which, okay, the minutes police, and I saw Nostalgic Nick in the comments, he said that he is a minutes officer. This is the first person I have to say. I've been calling people the minutes police, but shout out to you, Nostalgic Nick, because you admitted to being minutes 5-0. So you admitted to it out here, and then that's fine. That's fine if you are. I like what you said there, Alex, and Bryan. You can tell me what you think too, because Alex, you're talking about what are the quality of minutes, right? And how does it actually help this team? What we haven't seen in those minutes is the Knicks bench hasn't been really that productive, right? Like especially in terms of offensive output. And Tibbs probably hasn't trusted that. Now, whether that's right or wrong, that's a whole nother thing. Are you concerned about the lack of offensive output? Is that a concern for you from this bench? Both of you guys.
Oh, I mean, I think it's a lack. I think it is a concern, just because, you can play so much good defense, but then offense is going to prevail at some point. And so you have to be able to weather those storms, especially when this starting 5 is more than capable of getting a 10, 15, 20-point lead on anybody, that when you put the bench out there, you don't want them to just dwindle that all away. And now you got to rush your starters back out there and go, have to work twice as hard. We've seen this in third, fourth quarters, even in the first quarter too, when they come in that, Knicks could have a 10-point lead. Next thing you know, we're talking about, we're back in a dogfight, as we saw against OKC. And so, yeah, you need some offensive production from these guys. One can argue that, hey, that's Tibbs just letting these guys play a little bit more to get into more rhythm. I think the counter argument to that would be, there's not only a level of trust that he has to give to the players, but there's also a level of trust that I think he's trying to manage while on the court as well. So, I mean, come on, I think we've all played pickup basketball where it's 5-on-5. We have one guy that's going down there chucking mission shots, and you're just throwing up your hands like, dude, what are you doing? You're just like, come on, man. I don't even want to be here anymore. I want to walk away. And so, not saying that that's happening, but I think Tibbs is trying to manage that too, where anybody that he puts out there with the starters, he doesn't want the chemistry to be disrupted out there as well. Synergy is very important in all sports. So I think he's also trying to manage that too. And that's, I think, the delicate balance when they're out there, and if they're not producing, they're just putting up shots. I mean, we can look at Campaign, man. There's some nights where Campaign's just letting that thing rip, and you're like, yo, let's go. This is exactly what we need. And there's other nights why? Why'd you just pull up for a 3? We didn't even set Cat up yet. What's going on here, man? You're being covered already as your cross half court. So I think it's all of that mixed together, what Tibbs is trying to balance out.
Yeah,
I see that.
This is really the problem for me, Dex. It's when you look at the minutes distribution, and we've talked about, okay, in a big game, or what becomes a big game against the Nets, you have 4 guys who are playing 37 plus minutes. We talked about the OKC loss on the road, where the front end of a back-to-back, you have a bunch of guys, everyone in your starting lineup actually playing 40 plus minutes. But then when you look at the bench, it's all right, who are you going to play? Who are you going to give these other minutes to? If you're talking about reducing the minutes, which I think, yeah, there's a strong case for that, who are you giving more minutes to? That becomes sort of the issue, because it's Deuce McBride, okay, Precious Achiuwa, Cameron Payne, Landry Shamet, who's really consistent enough to where you can play them 25 minutes every night, like some other teams do when they have a 6-man, or when they have somebody who's a 7th man, a second guy coming off the bench, you can play them 20, 22 minutes a night comfortably. Which is to say the Knicks kind of just have a weak bench, which is to say, we're 2 weeks away from the trade deadline. You know that yeah, we've been talking about it all season. But I love the trade deadline. And I've been talking about, okay, bench upgrade is the most important thing for this team. So Alex, I'm gonna toss it to you now. Is there something that you want to see them address more than anything else over the next 2 weeks? Because it feels like whatever they need from their bench is not currently on their roster right now.
Just from the bench in general, what do I want the bench to address?
What do you want the Knicks to add?
In terms of trade, what would you want them to add? What's your trade deadline wish list?
Oh, wish list. I mean, I would like to see a wing on this team. CP and I discuss this all the time. JD, we all have these conversations. It's what do we want to see on this team? It's not another guard. I mean, the big man rotation. We're still waiting on Mitch, and that's what this team is waiting for as well. So we don't need another center there. But what we do need is wing depth. I mean, when you look at Bridges and OG, those guys are, and even Josh, those three guys are leading in minutes, and so just to relieve some of those guys, that's what we need to see. Now, the difficulty in like the wish list is that we're pressed up against the apron, and there's not many guys that you want to necessarily move. I mean, shout out to the New York Post. I think Bondi was reporting that they're shopping like Jericho Sims. They're trying to gauge interest. So that's $2 million on the books. Like, what's $2 million really going to get you? Like, it's not going to get a lot.
Well, somebody in the chat just put he said trade, and this is a trade Jericho Sims and bring back CP's boy.
Oh God,
Alec Burks.
The Heat aren't doing that. I can tell you that right now.
Listen, I talked when CP had me on this week. I talked about it. CP is president of the Burks Hive. Everybody knows that. You're right to the point that you're making, Alex. It's not going to bring you back much. Now, this is Brian's wheelhouse.
Real quick, Dex. Real quick,
yeah.
Alex. You don't. So you said you want to see them get a wing. You don't think they need to replace Mitchell Robinson. You think? Are you comfortable waiting for the injury ramp-up period? We talk about this all the time on the show. The injury ramp-up period, him getting back into form, the potential risk of him being injured again after the trade deadline to where you can't really address it with anything more than a buyout. Like, are you willing to wait for Mitchell Robinson, or do you feel like you might have to go out and address center depth sooner, even if it means parting with him?
I'm okay waiting for Mitchell Robinson to get back because I'm willing to take that gamble on what Mitch can do. What Mitch can do, not many other centers can replicate. I mean, this is a guy who can guard the pick and roll. This is a guy who can, manage the perimeter as well, just like cover somebody. That's just very difficult to find at the 5 position. We know he's a shot blocker. We know that he's a rim, like he brings a lot of pressure on the rim offensively. He's just a lob threat. And offensive rebounding, like that's an area where I'd like the Knicks to get back to. Mitch, when he was injured, he got injured, I think, like on December 7th or December 8th. Of 2023, he for like a month or maybe a month and a half, he was still leading in offensive rebounding statistically, even while he was not playing. What he can offer is just so great, and the areas where he's elite at defensively, offensive, like just being a defensive like stalwart, safety valve, whatever you want to call it. You want to talk about the offensive rebounding, those elite categories. I'd rather have somebody who's elite come back and join this team and wait for them to like just add more value to this team than trading for somebody just because, we're necessarily saying, oh, well, we don't know if he's going to get injured again. I think, and this is a good point that everyone's brought up about Mitchell Robinson's injury. He's injured right now because of Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid just like legitimately tackled this guy in midair and still just aggravated that guy was not ejected, penalized for what he did. It wasn't even a basketball move. I don't even know how anyone could just justify saying, oh, he was defending himself. He wasn't defending anybody. He was clearly frustrated. So I'd rather wait for Mitch to get back because from this injury, because what he will add to this team will be so great. Not saying that he's going to be a savior, but I think he will help a lot of the defensive problems. And especially if you want to roll like Cat out there with Mitch too, and you want to just have just a true rim protector. And as somebody like Tom Thibodeau loves to run drop coverage, I'm willing to wait for Mitchell Robinson to get back.
I think it's fair to wait for him to get back. I think there's a way you can wait for him to get back. And I think when he comes back, the Knicks are going to be very cautious with him, as they should.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But will they still try to do what you said, Alex? And Brian, you caused time. Will they go get a wing? Because I kind of agree. I think that's the way I would play it. I would wait for Mitch to come back if that's what you trust. Brian's a little less trusting on this than me. I know this.
Well, the other part is it becomes harder to go get somebody if you don't use Mitchell Robinson.
This is true.
That's kind of the key there.
And
Precious Achua's got $6 million that you can play with, but I mean,
but what are you getting for that?
It's hard to find somebody in that
Right.
range who isn't just on a rookie scale contract,
Right.
or like a mini mid-level exception.
Alex, I will ask you this too. If they do, let's say, because I think it's reasonable that this could happen. It's possible they could do nothing at the deadline because of the limitations that we are all talking about here.
Yeah.
Are you going to be, because you look, and I already see some of the Knicks fans here in the chat, you're going to be disappointed if they do nothing at the deadline. But it's likely Actually, I think they do nothing at the deadline. Is it the end of the world if they do nothing at the deadline here?
Absolutely not. I mean, these guys just made 2-3 massive trades within one calendar year for themselves. Like starting from like last January, you get OG. This past summer, you get Mikal Bridges. Right before training camp, you get Karl-Anthony Towns. Like you emptied the cupboard. So I'm not like we shouldn't be upset that if the Knicks don't do anything. If it like trade wise, I think what they will do is just keep eyes on the buyout market. You know, that I think they will do. And like whoever you get on the buyout market, you know, it's always dicey, but I think they'll
always.
I think that's what they will do and just say, hey, if we can add some value there, add some depth. I think another guy that people are talking about, TJ Warren being down in the G League, that's another guy that they're probably looking at too. And just, I think they got a lot of embers going right now, a lot of different things in the pot. And it's just like, they're just keeping eyes on everything. But I don't think trading Mitchell Robinson is the answer, just because I don't know who you're going to get that's going to give you that massive upgrade. And then for the center position, is there anybody that if you trade Mitch, I don't know why you'd want to trade Jericho Sims then, and who you think you get for like $2 million?
Come on, Alex. You know where that's going. The Huck Purdy hive is going to be out there.
I understand that. I understand that. And look, I like Tibbs gives him a lot of praise.
I like Huck Purdy.
Yeah, I like Huck Purdy too. Look, Huckamania, as we call him on KFTV. So like, I would like to see Huck Purdy get some minutes. We've seen some good minutes from him. And I just with Tibbs, it's not that I know he can't play rookies. We've seen that. Emmanuel Quickly, he's played Obi Toppin,
Quentin Grimes.
He played Quentin Grimes. He's played young guys before. That's not the issue for me. It's, you know, for young guys, how much trust does he have of them in the beginning? I mean, when Quickly was a rookie, we didn't really see much of Quick in the postseason. You know what I mean? He wasn't really given that much responsibility. So I'm like, how much responsibility does he really want to rely on for Huck Purdy? And that's why I kind of think he wants Mitchell Robinson too, because Mitch has been here. Mitch has evolved under Tom Thibodeau. He knows the defensive scheme. He's shown that he can thrive in that type of setting. So I think the team and Tibbs are more willing to wait and be cautious with him, which, to be honest, like we've seen Mitch kind of rush back at some points. This is probably like the longest I've ever seen Mitch just like really taking his time. The fact that prior to the season start was like, or even the beginning of the season, maybe we'll see him in January. And now we're just, you know, beginning of January. Now we'll probably see him in February, right? It's like they're really being cautious with him because we know the injury history and we also know how much he can really give us. We saw it against Cleveland. I know that's a while ago. We saw even what he did in the postseason against the Sixers when he was out there. So it's like I think there's more reward than there is the risk for what the Knicks are seeing in Mitchell Robinson right now.
We have a lot of activity in the comments, so want to
a lot of trades,
a couple things out there. Yeah, this is great. We're getting a lot of Jonas Valanciunas. This is somebody we talked about last week.
Oh man,
that's probably the appropriate reaction. Dexter is mixed on this because while Jonas
it's a no for me.
Okay, Dexter's a no on this because while Jonas Valanciunas can walk into a game, play 16 minutes, and get you 12 and 10, like on one leg. But in a pick and roll, he will get fried every single time against some of these elite perimeter players in the Eastern Conference. Like Trae Young would welcome him over on every single switch possible, as would anyone on the Celtics who can shoot a three-pointer, which is basically their entire team.
They will be salivating.
Yes, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell. Like if they do it with Cat, they're going to do it with Jonas Valanciunas. But
Dexter and I are salivating at this moment right now. We're willing to go out on the court and try it.
So we're seeing Jonas Valanciunas, which would obviously mean you part with like Mitchell Robinson and you do something like that. There is another player on Washington though that I do want to ask about since we mentioned wings. And this player makes $5.7 million this year, has an extension going into 14-ish million over the next couple of years and 13 after. But he's in that Precious Achiuwa salary window. I'm not sure Washington would be interested in doing this unless they want to get off the long-term money. But Corey Kispert has actually been playing pretty well lately. And I wonder if whatever draft capital you have left, you may have to include it, some of it at least. But is that a wing you'd consider somebody like that if you're looking at Precious Achiuwa. Because if I have news for all of y'all, if you're not trading Mitchell Robinson, the Precious Achiuwa salary range, like I don't think you're getting Malik Beasley the way he's playing for the Pistons, and the Pistons actually kind of like, hey, we feel like we can make the playoffs. We don't want to tinker with this.
Before Alex answers, one caveat with that, right? Because you said he has an extension that kicks in, and he'll make $14 million next year. That means that will automatically put the Knicks into the second apron next year, which is like you want to go in the second apron for Corey Kispert. That's all I'm saying.
Why Washington would want off the money probably if they could do it.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the guy you want to get into the second apron and handcuff yourself for that, but I'm gonna let Alex say.
I don't think so either. But
Alex, you say your piece.
Knicks fans want to talk trades, so
that's not the guy I really want to go over the salary cap for, as Dexter pointed out. I get like the offense, but I'm thinking defensively too. Like we can't just be all offense. And Kispert, like I don't really consider him. I don't think many people consider him that great of a defender. I think we need to add another defender on this team. So Kispert is not somebody I would want to go over that second apron for. And I think we got to think about the defense too. Like this starting five's got a lot of offense. We gotta balance that out and bring in some defense too.
Yeah, I just saw if you could bring up a Ron, still Knicks fans, he had a comment here. He said, hey, Dex, worst case scenario, the Knicks stand pat and wait for Mitch. He gets hurt again and is lost for the season. At least Jonas gives you a healthy body and a double. Here's my thing. He also can get cooked by the point guard, though, to be fair. Right?
And the shooting guard and the small forward.
But Ron brings up a fair point to question here, right? Sure. Because he's talking about the worst case scenario. The Knicks wait for Mitch. Mitch gets hurt again. Now his value goes down, where you're trying to trade him in the last year of his contract. Now, the flip side of that, Ron and others who are thinking about it, it's not a bad point Ron is bringing up. If Mitch plays well, no matter what happens for the Knicks the rest of the season, well, now you still have that flexibility to move him in the offseason. His value is now up because he's healthy. He's expiring, coming off of a good, hopefully, playoff run. So Alex and I are in the same boat. No Trae Young, but we're willing to roll the dice here, right? We're willing to roll the dice on Mitch here and see what can happen. I understand the trepidation with his health, but I also think Alex brings up another good point. Mitchell Robinson has been injury prone. I'm not saying that, but his last injury was not it was not a basket injury. He got injured playing basketball, but he got injured because somebody was dirty. Those are two different things. But that's all I'm saying.
He has been hurt before though. That's
he has.
The thing. Like he has.
Well, he got hurt by somebody being dirty.
We got a bunch. Like Mike over here comments Deuce for Tumani Kamara. I think Portland says no.
Yeah. Portland.
We got a Zion for OG1 in the comments also.
Guys.
Listen, trade season has everybody just going crazy. I mean, do you like
put the trade machine down for a second?
Yeah, we got Precious
Zion for OG.
We got Precious and this nostalgic Nick. Precious and Sims and picks get you Val for $9 million.
Get you who?
Jonas Valanciunas. We're calling him Val in the chat. Which, look, as a wrestling fan, y'all got to be careful because it makes me think of Val Venus, and I ain't trying to think of Val Venus if you look at that dude's Twitter feed. That's not very inside joke.
So now we're trading one of our better defenders and Precious for no. The thing is, like, when I heard the Jonas Valanciunas rumors, even from the summer, and I don't know, Dex and Brian, you guys tell me this too. Like, I just never saw how that made sense. Like, you now lose Isaiah Hartenstein, who like is a guy who can just hustle. We see what he's doing out in OKC. We saw it firsthand what he could do here, and now we're gonna replace him with a guy who, nice offensively, I get that, but defensively is just a liability all over the place. Like, that to me is just not the answer. I mean, if we are already like worried about Karl-Anthony Towns at the 5, my people, it could be much worse with Jonas Valanciunas.
It could be.
That said, he can put people under the basket too, and people can like that.
One last, Justin here says Javonte Green for Jericho Sims.
Javonte Green is making $2.4 million this year, and I believe he's expiring. I don't know what's in it for New Orleans. They seem to have found a center in Yves Missi.
Yep.
But I mean, Javonte Green, like, he's good. Like, he can defend multiple positions. He's not going to.
I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah, he's not going to score a ton. He could defend multiple positions. He has a track record of being an effective three-point shooter now for the duration of his career, and he's gotten better over the years since he was with the Bulls, really. Javonte Green would actually make a lot of sense if you could do it. I don't see why New Orleans does this straight up. I feel like there has to be some sort of pick compensation here because I'm not a first rounder.
Second rounders. You're definitely throwing in some second.
But I would do that deal. I would do that deal. That is one of the better deals I've seen come in. Sorry, I saw Nostalgic Nick said that your boy Val is CAA, and that might grease the wheels on this trade. So I mean, Nostalgic Nick is right.
He's right.
That doesn't mean they have to do it. I think the Javonte Green's. I think that's actually it's a good trade and it's a reasonable trade that could actually happen. Yeah. I don't think that's crazy.
I like Javonte Green for Tom Thibodeau specifically a lot.
Understood.
This is the kind of 8th, 9th man that Tom Thibodeau would probably play a little more. That people would be like, wait, why is Javonte Green playing 23 minutes right now? Like, but he could actually play. Like, he could defend multiple positions. The only thing is, like, you're gonna need him to play a little bigger, which has been the case for his career. But he's not like 6'8". I think people think that he's probably bigger than he is. He's like 6'5" or something like that. So he's a 3, but I've seen him guard 4s. I've seen him guard some 2s. So we'll see.
We'll see. Alex, a couple things. We appreciate you rocking with us. Want to get your thoughts on. Are you concerned with Cat and his the way he's been shooting the 3 the last couple of games? You know, since the hand injury, 1 of 9 from downtown. Any concern there? I'm
not concerned yet. I mean, let's also remember he missed a couple of games, so you know, being a shooter, shooting is rhythm. So he has to get back, you know, get his legs, like, not necessarily get his legs back under him, but just has to like get back into that rhythmic, you know, momentum of just understanding like where he wants to catch it, how he wants to shoot it, and all those things. So I'm not too concerned about it. Now, if we're talking about like after like 5-6 games, we're starting to see the same thing where, you know, right now he's 1 for 9, as he pointed out in the post game. So he's 11% right now over the last 2 games from shooting from 3, right? But before that, he was shooting 50. So I'm not worried. But like if we're talking about 5 games, 10 games, obviously we're starting to get a little bit more concerned if we get to that point. But no, I'm not. And I think the thing that we have to realize with Karl-Anthony Towns too is that he was still shooting very well when he was in the paint in these matchups.
Good point.
By being able to do that, I see him just utilizing that part of his game more. And that's the adjustment that he will make. So I'm not necessarily worried about the 3-point shooting at this point, but he's shown that he can just do other things. What do you guys think, though?
No, I think you make a good point. He shot the ball well in the paint. He didn't shoot well overall against Atlanta, but he did what he had to do against Brooklyn. Good touch around the basket. It's going to be an adjustment in rhythm, like you said, with the hand. I think he will be fine. It's something to keep an eye on. I think these 4 days off for the Knicks as a team, and minutes police out there, I know you agree. The 4 days off is good for this team, no doubt about that. I think it's also good for his hand and him getting readjusted, like in all seriousness there. But I just think this team has played a lot of games. They were the first team in 41 games. They played the most games in the league. I think this time we good. I'm not worried about it. I don't get worried about very small sample sizes, Alex. That's me. I think you know that about me. I don't get worried about very small sample sizes. Small sample size, I think we'll be fine.
I mean, the only thing you really have to worry about is if the injury becomes, which you don't hope for, but if there's a torn ligament there, then he's going to be out for like 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
Typically in the NBA, like that's how that one goes.
Yeah. I mean, Stephen Bondi, our colleague, had reported that, you know, he would need surgery during the season or the offseason. So, I mean, we'll see. You never know. Things can change in the offseason, but we'll see. Last thing for me, Alex. So Knicks have this break. Knicks Kings on Saturday. What are you looking forward to in this game? The Kings have been playing. I didn't like that they fired Mike Brown, but Doug Christie has those boys playing some good basketball out there. De'Aaron Fox looks like he's got a renewed confidence. Their defense has actually gotten better.
The defense is so impressive at this point.
I know. And that was kind of Mike Brown's calling card. What are you looking forward to this game on Saturday night? Knicks will have some time off, which again I think was really good for them. What are you guys looking forward to in this game on Saturday night, Knicks and Kings?
I think it's just another good test for them. You know, we talk about getting like some statement wins, some meaningful wins on the season. We know we can beat up on the bottom feeders of the league. taking on the Sacramento Kings, who are hot right now. I mean, guys, listen to this. Like, so under Doug Christie, this team has gone 10-2. All right, they're 10-2 under Doug Christie. They've won 10 out of their last 11 games. That's how good they have been. And so, Dexter, as you point out, defensively they step it up the notch. Under Doug Christie right now through the last 12 games, they have the ninth best defensive rating. They got the 4th best offensive rating and the 4th best net rating. So this team is just clicking on all cylinders. So Knicks are going to be facing a hot team, and I think this is just going to be another good test for them to see where they stand. And for me, I'm looking for the defense and just seeing what we saw against the Atlanta Hawks and even in the Brooklyn Nets. I know that they were without some of their guys, but I thought there were some possessions where you could just, hang your hat on saying, the last possession, just finally covering the 3 well to prevent Cam Johnson from getting a clean look. You have Precious just closing out very well. Stuff like that. And I want to see them translated to this game against the Kings, who are hot offensively. We know that numbers are going to be put up in this game. That's no question about that. But who wins is going to be about who's getting the appropriate stops at the right time. So that's what I'm looking forward to for this matchup.
All right, it's going to be a good one. Knicks Kings on Saturday. We will see how that all plays out. That is my guy, Alex Trataros. Check him out on Knicks Fan TV. Does a fantastic job co-hosting with the crew there. See, and one thing I'll say, Alex, before you go, I was talking to CP about it. JD had texted me the other day. I'm glad you guys at Cave TV, but you've been keeping it calm because some of these fans, they've been jumping out the window. We try to keep it calm over here too. It's a long season. It's a very long season. Folks. It's a long season. It's a long season,
but to the fans and love Knicks Nation, man. And I get it. I get it. Look, we've seen some things. We have seen some things. And so now that we're very close, especially when you make 2 blockbuster trades in the offseason, you just want to see success, man. And I'm right there too. And it's fine to be aggravated. It's fine to be happy after wins, but it ain't ending. The world is not ending. And the other thing I think we all have to understand too is that this team is together for the next 3 to 4 years. And so the first year of this, it's the experiment, seeing what works, what they can build on, what's going to happen with this team. It's the next following years that we're going to be seeing. We're going to see what this team is truly made out of. So I can't wait. I can't wait. I still want to watch this season. I can wait. Don't want to. I can wait, but it'll be fun to see year 2 what this offense really looks like. Right, year 2. Hopefully the defense steps up. The communication is better. If Mitchell Robinson could stay healthy, that's some good stuff too. Right, imagine Mitch being healthy going into the next season, having your full lineup ready to go. That's stuff that will be great for this team for the following season. But look, man, it's a journey.
There you go.
It's a journey.
It's a journey. You got to enjoy the ride. That is Alex. Check him out on Knicks Fan TV. The great job they do there. All the content around the Knickerbockers. Alex, we appreciate the time. We will have you back soon to talk some more Knicks. Thank you, man. All right, Alex is gone. He peaced out. Thank you, everybody, for checking in on YouTube. Actually, been a lot of people checking in with a lot of good comments. Sorry we haven't got to everybody in there, but we did see some of your good trades. Next week, and I'll just say this before we get into real or not, next week is going to be definitely where we're a week out from the trade deadline. We are going to have a very trade-heavy show. I will understand next week. Next week, we will take all your trade requests, all your trade ideas. I want to hear. I've seen some good ones from the people. I've seen some terrible ones out there. Step it up on the trade machine. Y'all can do better. I believe in you. I know you can do better than that. But we'll have a good one. Hopefully we have a good guest to talk about some trades, myself and Bryan. Before we get out of here, we're going to do what we always do around the Knicks. Real or not, we got some good ones this week. A lot of people rocking here in the chat. We appreciate you. Shout out some people I saw. I saw my guy Phil Porto checked in here as well. My guy Greg also was in on the check-in. We appreciate you. Yes. Captain Crunch, I see you've been doing a lot of stuff with the comments out there. We appreciate you.
Captain Crunch pissed.
Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch.
What's our guy who's here every week? Who's not here this week? Knicks GM 100.
Yeah.
He usually brings the. I'm not saying you're angry, Captain Crunch. I'm just saying you want change. I see that. I see that in you.
Hey, being pissed is fine. I'd be pissed. You'll be pissed. People be pissed. It's fine.
It happens. It's what you do with that energy that matters. That's all it says. It's what you do.
Captain Crunch just wants his team to do something.
I respect that.
I get it. It feels like, listen, there are a lot of people who probably don't think Cleveland is all that. I disagree. I think Cleveland's really good. But there are a lot of people who probably think Cleveland is all that. And there are people who see Boston kind of slipping a little bit and feel like the Knicks could potentially get in there. But I mean, listen, it's
enjoy
tough.
the journey. Just enjoy the journey, guys.
It's tough.
It's tough. I know you guys, the expectations have been raised. Sometimes you're gonna beat bad teams by 3 to 4 points. It's gonna happen. Y'all got to jump out the window. Now I got to give Captain Crunch. We said that Captain Crunch was not angry, and then he came out here typing in all caps.
All caps, yeah.
He was like, "Oh, let me show you. I'm gonna type here in all caps." He's like, "I'm gonna bring the anger." All right, let's get to real or not before we get out of here.
Yeah,
the Knicks have not shot the ball well from 3 this month, Brian.
No, they haven't.
They're shooting 33.7% from downtown in January. They shot over 38% in December. Will the Knicks finish January shooting below 34% from downtown, or you think they figure it out?
I'm gonna say they figure it out. So not real that they're gonna be below 34% for the month. Only because we have 3 games left this month that we're gonna go through: Sacramento, Memphis, Denver. That'll all be done by the time we have our next show on Thursday of next week. All those games are at the Garden. And this team, I mean, they shoot well on the road as well. They have over the duration of the season. But yeah, I mean, especially, a team like Denver, like you'll be able to find the spots in those openings if you just swing the ball around and don't get bogged down into heavy isolation play, which, could happen in the NBA just in general. Like, yeah, I think you'll be able to find those spots. You have some tough games coming up. Granted, they're at home, but the Kings are playing well. Memphis is good. Denver has been playing really well, especially with Russell Westbrook in the starting lineup. I don't know if people have been paying attention, but Denver's been really good lately, and Jamal Murray's picked it back up for the most part. And then after that, you have Lakers, Houston. Like, these are 5 tough home games that you have coming up against Western Conference teams. So you want to see them go 3-2 in that stretch in general, at least. And I do think they'll get to that 34% mark. I'm not sure it's going to mean that they win a bunch of games, but yeah, you want to see better shooting for a team that has shot the ball well.
Some of I think that will help is Karl-Anthony Towns, just as we said, getting back in rhythm and finding his touch because he's been so good from 3. OG's been struggling a little bit from downtown as of late. You wonder when the turnaround comes back for him. But we'll see. When you see a lot of shots falling short, that does signal tired legs, and there goes the minutes police again. They're going to be ready for that. But we'll see. Okay, I agree.
And also, last thing to this, Dex, 40% in October. It was a 6-game sample size, but it has gone down a little bit, like each month. So
which you
38.8
kind of expected to.
Yeah, right. I mean, some people would say it's because of the minutes. 38.8 from 3 in November, 38.4 December, and we're at, as you mentioned, 33.7 this month. So. Yeah. You want to see that tick back up a little bit.
You want to see it tick back up a little bit. These are the dog days of the season, as they like to say. They got a little 4-day break, All-Star break also coming up in a couple of weeks. So, we'll see how those things go. Next one, I want to talk about Josh Hart because there's an interesting stat with Josh Hart in terms of rebounding, and I love to see Josh Hart out here doing Josh Hart things. Hart has 147 rebounds in January, folks. That is tied with the bonus for the league lead in January. Now, Karl-Anthony Towns probably would be leading this if he didn't miss 3 games this month because he's got 10 less than those guys, and he's still leading the league in rebounding. He is 137 this month. But we know Josh Hart has a nose for finding the ball. Will he lead the league in rebounding this month at 6'4"? Like I think we need to understand how amazing that is if he's able to get this done. We all know how dope of a rebounder he is, but if he's able to get this done, Brian, and I know this, Josh Hart is a Brian Fonseca all-star. He's going to give you everything he has. He's gritty. He might
love Josh Hart.
This is how Brian likes his players, right? But Brian, I know this will be special for you that if he is able to get this done and lead the NBA in rebounding this month for a guy who's undersized 6'4", the guys you champion for, do you think he gets it done, though? Does he lead the NBA in rebounding this month? 4 games left to play? 3 games left to play.
3 games left in
3 games left to play in the month.
January.
Does he get it done? What do you say?
He does not because Domantas Sabonis has 4. Unfortunately, they'll go head-to-head, but also Sabonis plays tonight. actually in about 30 minutes against the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic, who I'm sure is going to be up there as well. And then they have the Knicks, then they have the Nets, and then they have the Sixers. All road games for the Kings. But I mean, favorable matchup in terms of rebounding. Like he'll get his against pretty much all of these teams, but especially like he can clean up against the Nets and the Sixers. So Domantas Sabonis, because he has an extra game, he's going to get it. But I mean, Josh Hart being in the top, I don't care what it is, 3, 2, 5, whatever he ends up with, it's an exceptional month. And we've talked about like if the Knicks are going to have a third All-Star, I would mention Josh Hart before I mention OG Anunoby. Like
I actually agree with that.
I don't think he's going to be an All-Star, to be clear. But I want to see how the voting tallies at the end and see if he got any consideration. Like how many players may have voted for him, how many coaches may have voted for him. I could see coaches liking Josh Hart more than some of the fans, for example.
Yeah, I don't think
non-Knick fans, of course.
You know what? We can make this the third reel or not. We'll just go to it right now. Will the Knicks get a third All-Star? We'll just do that before we wrap. I am going to come out and say, I also add, I do think Josh Hart will not lead the NBA rebound this month. I think it's tough. I think it's going to be closer than you might think, though, Brian. I think he's going to have something to say. It's going to be a little closer. On terms of will the Knicks have a third All-Star, the answer for me is no. I just don't think they have a good enough record to warrant that. If any, Cleveland is likely to get another. Boston will definitely get another. It'll be Jalen Brown.
Mm-hmm.
There's an argument that those two teams, because they're ahead of the Knicks, should actually get 3 over the Knicks. I do not think the Knicks get a third All-Star.
Cleveland could.
I can see Cleveland getting 3.
I can see Cleveland getting 3.
I can see them having 2 reserves. I can see Boston has a case for 2 reserves. You could talk about Jalen Brown and Derek White. But I don't think the Knicks are getting a third All-Star. So the answer for me is no. This hasn't happened since 1973. Yeah, I don't see this happening. What do you say?
I probably don't either, just because when you look at the numbers game of it all, I'm looking at Orlando right now because Orlando's played well just in totality, but I don't know if Paolo doesn't have the games, and Franz Wagner, who is actually supposed to come back tonight. He's missed 20 games. He's only played 25. But I do wonder, when you're talking about the reserves, there's going to be a little bit more of a sample size because they're not doing reserves announcements yet. That's going to be later on. So if Franz Wagner has 29, 30 games, 28 games by that point, is that enough of a sample size for him to get in? So in Orlando, you should probably get them an All-Star if you could. They probably deserve it. LaMelo Ball, we talked about him. I think he's going to get in, which I have no problem with. I don't think he should start, but the numbers are kind of absurd. And, you have to look at some of the other guys in the Eastern Conference too, like Atlanta. Is Atlanta getting 2, by the way? You don't think so?
Milwaukee can get 2. Lillard,
Damon Lillard, they'll get 2. And the reason why I asked if Atlanta's getting 2 is because, Jalen Johnson,
he's a fringe. He's been fringe
really good this year.
He has been good.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys. Tyler Hero is going to get consideration. I think he may be out, but he's having a really good season. I don't think Josh Hart's getting in ahead of him. Atlanta's going to have multiple guys in consideration. Zach LaVine's actually had a strong year this year too, and has been mostly healthy so far. So
I actually don't think any team is getting 3. I just don't. If anybody's case,
Cleveland has the best chance, but
I don't think any team is getting 3. I don't think Knicks getting 3. I don't think any team is getting 3. Cleveland has the best chance. I agree. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of New York Got Game, Knicks Weekly. Thank you for joining us here on a Thursday evening. Appreciate all of you guys in the chat. I'm sorry I didn't get to everything with the trades. Seen some good discussions, some fantastic arguments in there. I appreciate y'all to come back next week and continue it. We'll do it next week. We will have a very, very, very trade-focused episode next week. The following Thursday, we also will be doing a trade deadline show. So we'll be coming to you live during the trade deadline. We'll see what the Knicks do at that time. We did this last year. I think that was our first live for New York Got Game, and it was very well supported. We'll have a slew of guests to join us to talk about stuff. So we'll have a good lineup for you, and we'll let everybody know what that lineup is. So we appreciate that. We're going to get out of here. Thanks to my producer, Jeff Stansbury. We'll be back with a new weekly episode, recorded episode dropping on Monday. Should have a good guest for that to talk about how the Knicks are looking into the big week that Bryan talked about. But thanks again to my producer, Jeff Stansbury. For my guy, Bryan Fonseca, I'm Dexter Henry. We'll see you next time on New York Got Game. Peace.
And thanks for watching New York Got Game. Boom shakalaka.